Hey, this is Jim Rivers for Sonic Academy. Welcome back to my session of tutorials. We're kind of getting on a little bit now with the track. There's some nice beats, some bass, some really nice pads, and I'm getting to the stage where I would start thinking about how is this actually going to sound in an arrangement term. So this is what we've got. Some really nice sounds in there. Now, one thing that I have learned over the years of doing this is I think especially when you start out writing music, sometimes there's the tendency to just keep throwing stuff at it and something will stick, but less is more is so often the case. Often the tracks that you'll love the most are the simplest. They might not sound it, but often they are. Some of the best producers, their tracks are very, very minimal, if you like. Not genre-wise, but in terms of the parts that are in there, and it has a great impact. A good example of that is Eric Prydz, who, whether you love or hate his music, in terms of production, he is top dollar. And, you know, his tracks have 7 or 8 sounds in them, and that's it. So it allows him space for the mix, dynamically as well. But the key about that is that all the parts are killer, and it's the little phrase that I often say to people when I'm teaching them stuff, is it should be all killer, no filler. So I'm looking at this now and thinking, okay, I've got quite a bit of stuff in here. I'm going to start seeing if I can kind of get this rolling. Now, so often what people find, they go from their idea in a loop and it sounds great, and they start arranging it and it suddenly sounds horrible. So, you know, I think the arrangement side of music, especially when you're learning as well, gets overlooked so much, and often the arrangement is the make or break of whether the track's going to be good or not. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is just start looking at that, and then the next one I'll kind of show you a much more full arrangement, and you can see where I've gone with that. So I'll always look and think, okay, well, how am I going to start this track? You can start it simply, you can start it complicated, in a more complicated way. Now, this isn't techno really, this is more kind of deep rolling stuff. So I'm just going to start it in a fairly standard way with some drums, I guess. So I'll probably think about, I don't know, try some of the Perk. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, that works for me. The reason I took this one here, the knocking loop, out is when it's with less stuff, it sticks out a little bit too much and doesn't do what I want it to do. So it's always about getting that balance. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag all of these elements across a bit. This is how I like to work. Move all that stuff at the moment. And then I'll pull back the elements that I want. Now, when I've got a ghost kick in an arrangement, I copy it through the entire track, because there's often stages where the kick drum isn't playing, but I still want the effect of the ghost trick. So if you've got ghost kick, so if you've got a ghost kick, just copy it all the way across. Some people like to put all this into blocks and do it. You know what? Do what you like. It doesn't really matter. Just work with what fits. I can't be bothered to change that at the moment, and I'm happy just copying and pasting things like that. So I'm going to have my kick. The ghost is there. Let's take Perk 1. And what was the other one? Perk 2. Which gives us kind of skippy vibes that are going on there, and then I'll copy that across maybe a couple of times. Just so I've got some stuff to play with, and you know, you can do it as by the book or as out there as you want, but what you've got to bear in mind is, you know, if you do stuff that's too mental and too weird, sometimes it throws the listener off. And if you're writing music that applies to DJs, there are loads of DJs that love stuff that's creative, and as a producer I have to rein myself in all the time by putting in weird kick patterns and breaks at funny places, because ultimately it often puts off a DJ. They won't play it, or they don't like the way it intros or whatever. So you can have that in the back of your mind. So this one, I'm going for quite a simple approach. So we're going to start with their pattern, and then before the 17 drops in, I quite like to do a little kick out and then take the first kick out of the bar. I do that a lot, very subtle, but it gives a little different feel. And then what I'll probably do, let's have a look. Okay, I'm going to put clap 2 in here. So we've just got a nice little progression. Let's have a look. Now that sounds really, really bare there because the percussion is so stripped and bare. So what I might do is at this point I might chuck the shaker in a bit earlier, maybe start off with the shaker so you've got that element there to glue it all together. A shaker or a tambourine or something with that 16th shuffle that goes that I find it often glues percussion and drums together really, really well, and can often be a subtle little element that really changes the feel of your groove. You can copy and paste stuff, or you can just hit the loop button, which is just L in Logic. It's such an easy thing to do. Okay, so that sounds better there. What does it sound like here? See, straight away you can see how if you get little bits wrong, things sound weird and they stand out a little bit and they sound a little bit bare. And I think especially as a developing producer, if you're at that stage, it can get very, very frustrating and you can lose the plot with what you're trying to do with your track. So there's a number of ways to look at doing stuff. Add in other elements a little bit earlier. So maybe, for example, with these two sounds, I'm going to maybe just do a real bit of simple automation. So on the shaker, I'm going to fade it in volume wise. So if you hit A, that's a shortcut to get into your automation. I'm just going to set the shaker just to creep up in volume. I like to use the curve function on this. That's one thing that Ableton doesn't have, is the ability to curve lines easily. Well, not that I know of anyway. But in Logic it does it brilliantly. If you hit escape when you're in this window here, you get your little menu up, and then if you have your automation curve tool, just grab it and give it a nice little bend there. Hit escape, get back to your pointer tool, hit A, come back out of the automation. So then that's going to fade up, and I may fade up this sound as well, so let's just have a little listen. Now this section here where I take the kick drum out, it doesn't actually work there very well. So what I will always do, if it's not working, I won't just do it because it's what I like to do. I'll try and get something that complements what's going on. So what I might do over these 4 bars here is just do a real simple low cut change in the drum. So if I turn the plugin on, when you turn it on, you're going to have to remember that now if I play it, it's going to play it with some cut on. So I want it at 20 Hertz, which is the bottom one there. And then over this period of time here, 4 bars before the clap comes in, I'm just going to increase it a little bit. Probably again with the curve tool as well. Just like that. Let's have a listen. Okay, that's a little bit smoother, which is kind of what I'm after. Now, I think I did have another sound, which I haven't actually put in here, that I was using in these kind of transitional periods. Now, obviously you can use cymbals and people use white noise and all sorts of stuff, but I quite often use a tonal sound as well. Now, I'm pretty sure if I go into where my sounds are, yes, here we go, Orc Stab. Now, this is just Let's put it at the start as well. A tonal orchestral stabby thing. Let's have a listen. Okay, so you can hear that it's got a cymbal in there, it's got a tone in there. It's again been chopped out of a record, I think, where I found it. Let's see if it suits this little section here. There we go, it's starting to make a little bit more sense. Now often with arrangements and stuff, it is so much about trial and error. Unless you're going for a very specific thing and you've got a very clear idea of where you're going, then just kind of go with the flow a little bit and see what happens. The only other thing I might add in this section here is a hat, just to sort of drive it along a little bit. Let's have a listen. There you go, it makes a lot more sense there. The clap comes in with the hat. You've got that nice crisp kick, hat, clap with the other percussion around. So what I'm going to do in the next video is I will bring up the track that's far more arranged, and I'll show you how and why I've done what I did, rather than build it all up in front of you, because that will take much longer and it will get quite dull, to be quite honest. So the next video, look out for how we're going to evolve the track, arrange it, maybe some automation stuff, and really make the best out of the ideas that we've got. So until then, this has been Jim Rivers for Sonic Academy, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.